Hey everybody, Ito here from Roia Moto, and today I showed you the step-by-step how you can change the chain, the rear sprocket and the front sprocket of your Honda CRF300L and also applicable for the Rally. Now let me start by showing to you which are the parts that I'm buying in case you want to buy the same. I bought this with my own money, that's not a sponsored video, but in case you're interested, here it is. So I'm getting a DID chain, and this is the 520, so that is the sizing of the chain, 520 ERVT, and I got one with 114 links. Now the reason for that this is longer than the original is that I'm also increasing my rear sprocket from 40 to 43 teeth, so I just got it a bit longer. This is the code for the front sprocket. There is a JT sprocket, JT F1321, and the dot 14, the 14 refers to the amount of teeth on this sprocket. So on the front sprocket I'm keeping the same amount of teeth, so 14. This is the rear sprocket. It is also from JT Sprockets, and here's the product code. So it is the JTR210, and the dot 43, this 43 stands for the amount of teeth, so it is 3 teeth more than the OEM. Now I don't have a product code for this. This is a, let's say, a generic kit. You can just Google it and search for rear sprocket bolt kit. But the important thing here is this is a M8 by 31, so that is the size of the bolt, M8 by 31. Now to break the chain you are going to need a specialized tool, that is a chain breaker tool, but it does make it much easier if before you start to use the tool you just grind off one of the pins here on your motorcycle, and then you just use the chain breaker tool to push it off. So here you can see what I have done. And you'll know you have pushed the pin all the way out when it gets easier here to twist, to apply torque on this pusher. So here you can see the pin that we have pushed out right here, and now the chain here is going to be loose. Let's remove the front sprocket cover, and for this you're going to need an 8mm hex socket. Now once you get these bolts out, then just bring up here this cover. Actually mine even fell off. If it doesn't fall off like this you can just wiggle it out, but it's quite straightforward to do it. Now let's remove the sprocket, and you're going to need a 10mm hex socket. Put your motorcycle in gear so the sprocket is locked in here like this. Now you have this flange in here. Let's get the flange out. Now you can pull the sprocket out. To mount your front sprocket, there is a correct side to it, but it's really straightforward. This part in here is completely smooth, and here you have this these markers in here with the product code, so it goes like this. Okay, now we are going to mount this flange back on, and you want to align as close as possible these holes here on the flange to the holes here on the sprocket. And there's a correct way. If I would try to mount like this, it's not going to work. So the distance, okay, the offset from the center of the shaft to the center of the diameter of the hole is different. If I would put it like this, it's not going to line up. So I have to do it like that. Now it lines up perfectly. On the front sprocket bolts, I recommend you to put some thread lock on them. You don't need a lot of torque on these bolts, okay? This is hand tight. These are small screws. So there it is. Now we have our front sprocket ready to go. To change the rear sprocket, we need to get the rear wheel off, so let's do it. Now to remove the rear sprocket, you're going to need to apply torque with a 24mm hex socket, and on the opposite side you need to hold the axle in place with a 17mm. Now here with our toolkit, if you get your 17mm hex socket and your 24, even though you could say, well, but we have only one ratchet in here, that's the one I'm going to use for the 24, you can take your extension, and we have these adapters that they have a hole in them, okay? So I'm gonna get the adapter here with the hole, and then what you do, you take your extension, you pass it through the adapter, and now you get yourself a second wrench like this. So you can apply torque on both sides. So that's a very smart solution just to make it simple and as light as possible, your toolkit. 24mm hex socket. Now keeping the axle in place with the 17mm, then here on the 24, just go ahead and get your 24mm nut off. Now we need to get the axle out of the hub of the wheel, and sometimes it can get pretty hard to pull it out, especially if it's been a long time since you last removed your rear wheel, and if you have a lot of gunk in it, it can get quite hard. So one thing you can do, get the extension, and now we are going to use the extension as a pusher for the axle. Let me show to you. So here's what I'm referring about. Okay, you could try to pull by hand. Now let's get the spacer. You can try to pull by hand on the opposite side. It is quite heavy. I would say with mine I can still do it, but it does require some effort. If yours, for whatever reason, is stuck, I already considered the diameter of this extension exactly to do that. So you just put it here, and then you can knock it. So it's much easier for you to knock like this, right, with your hand. And also if it is really stuck, you can even kick it with your motorcycle boots. Just kick it.
That's better. No, somebody can pull from the other side.
Now it should be quite easy. There it is. Now probably you can catch there on the video that I'm quite proud with the solution that we have with the Roia Moto Tool Kits. I promised you guys, these are the absolute most over-engineered and best toolkits that you can get for your motorcycle. So if you're looking for a motorcycle toolkit that you can really rely on, that keeps the weight down, it is compact and has a lot of smart solutions specifically tailored for motorcycle riders, check out roiamoto.com. And very important, check out the reviews. Today our toolkits are in the hands of riders in over 30 countries and people really love it. So if you're looking for one, check out roiamoto.com. Here you can see the bolts, and for these bolts you're going to need an Allen bit number 5 like this. Now on the opposite side there is a nut, there is a 14mm nut. So on the toolkit we have already the spanners. And you also make sure that, just pay attention on the sprocket in here. As I was applying torque in here, I hit myself, so always a good idea. That's a very common thing to happen when you're working here around the sprocket. Now you can remove the sprocket. Now, very important, when you're going for here an aftermarket sprocket, you will notice that the housing for these bolts is different, okay? There's like a concave shape in there, and that means that you should not use the OEM bolts, okay? Now I have purchased in here a separate set of bolts that they are flanged on the head. They're flanged. Now this is a generic kit. The best way, I mean, even if I give you here the product code, which I will, it's quite hard that you're going to find exactly the same. I got this from a local shop. What I recommend you to do, just go online and search for rear sprocket bolts, and you're going to find here what you're looking for. You just make sure that you get here an M8 by 31 bolt. So it's a complete kit. And in case you're curious, here you can see what is the difference of going from a 40 teeth OEM rear sprocket to a 43. Now we're going to put the wheel back on, but one thing I'm already going to do is to just remove the chain guard, and you will see it soon when we are remounting the chain. That's going to make it much easier for us to have access to it. And you need a 8mm hex socket, and there's another one right here that you also need an 8mm hex socket. Now here for the chain guide is a 10mm hex socket, and all of this is just to make it easier to install the new chain. Let's put the wheel back on. Don't forget here that you have to add the spacers, one on each side. And as I'm pushing the wheel to go inside, here where the brake disc is, I'm always watching on this part to make sure that the brake disc fits right in between the brake pads. And here with my hands, I'm holding the spacers so they don't fall. All right, that's looking good. When you're putting the axle back on, note that here on the top, you have one little gap in here, or a line in here, this goes pointed up. So not like this, where you have more markings, but like this. This here pointed up, and that will be on both sides. Now, one tip here for you, we need to now determine the length of the new chain. If you see here on your swing arm, you have these markings. That is an indication for you of how far the rear axle is compared to the swing arm. We want to push the wheel to be roughly here on the green area, at the beginning of the green area. And in order for, that's why you have this line in here. So I want to line it up to be roughly like that, at the beginning of the green. I'm using the change slack adjuster bolts on each side to make sure that my axle is aligned. And you do that by looking here at the bottom. You have these markings, and there's a dot on your swing arm, and you want to have both sides here, both spacers, roughly on the same position. So once everything is roughly aligned, then I'm going to apply a bit of torque to lock it in place. So here's my new chain. Oh yes. Okay, so this part now is very important, and you really want to double check, triple check, okay? So I'm unable to stretch the chain further than that, okay? So if I try to pull it here, okay, it will only hook in this position to the sprocket. Then I could say, well, let me just cut it in here, and that's it. No, maybe it is correct, but here's how you're going to check. If you see here, there's too much slack, okay? We have too much chain slack in here. But that's okay, because I can still pull the axle back and then see if the slack is going to be okay when I do that. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to loosen the axle and then pull the axle backwards, put it here on the green section, and see how is the slack. The slack has to be roughly correct before I determine where I'm going to cut the chain. Okay, so there's my axle. Okay, so here it is. Now if I pull it back, okay, that's starting to look right now. And I'm just at the beginning of the green, so that's looking good. Let me check the other side. And what I'm looking at is how much adjustment I want to make sure that the axle is aligned. So here at the bottom, I can check that the right and the left side of the axle, it's roughly aligned here with my swing, with the swing arm. Okay, that's looking good. I'm going to tighten here my axle again so I don't lose this position. I'm going to double check one more time, and do like that at home. Don't rush this part, because I mean, once you cut your chain wrong, that's it. Or especially if you cut it too short, then it's game over. If you cut it too long, at least you have a chance of doing it right. So here is correct, here is looking good. I'm now checking the opposite side. It's also looking fine. And I'm checking here, how is my slack? That looks about right. Now, if you don't know how to check the chain slack of the Honda CRF300L, which you should know how to do this job, I have a separate video in here. I'm not going to cover this on this video, but I know that this is roughly correct. So I'm going to mark here on my chain. This is the pin that I'm going to grind off. Now let's break the chain. Okay, so for a master link, this is a clip type master link. That's what I'm going to be using. And you get also here some lubricant to add to your O-rings. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so after you add some lubricant, then you take the O-ring that is provided, you put one on each side. I'm going to add a bit more grease in here. And I'm going to add the master link here on my chain. Now I add the O-ring, one on each side. Then you take your plate, and here on the plate you're going to see that one side you have some engravings, and on the opposite side there's nothing. So the side that has some markings in here, some engravings, that goes pointed to the outside. So now we're going to press on the plate just so enough of the pin is exposed in order for us to lock the chain using this part. Now you can also use the tool to do that, but I find it easier to do with this straight jaw plier in here. And I'm pressing on both sides. You want the plate to go in squarely. So I'm pressing from multiple positions. If you notice here on the top of the pin, right at the beginning, you have this groove in here. And this groove, if I put the master link in here, I'm able to slide it, okay, like this, starting here, and I push it, and then it locks in place in here. So how much do you need to expose the pin in there? This amount in here. So you can see it here, when you are able to lock it fully like that. That's what we are trying to do in here. And you will know it's enough when you take the master link, you put it in here, and you're able to slide it in place. I can't do it now. See, it doesn't go. Same on the other one. This one, it's already enough. See here? So this is just about right. That's what I was looking for, to lock it. Now this one, since I can't do it, I'm gonna press a bit more on this side. And this is really sensitive work, okay? You don't have to, don't rush it. See, it's already there. Just this little bit that I pressed was enough. There it is. So now we're gonna lock it, and the way you do it, there's a correct position. You don't lock it like this, where the open end it's going towards the front, but you lock it like this, where the open end it's towards the back. And the idea is that when your chain is traveling forward, if you would have this part here pointed forward, it could snag on something and then pull the clip out. So you do it like this, so there is less risk of getting snagged anywhere. To lock the clip, I'm using the locking plier. This is included with the Roia Moto Tool Kit. There it is. Now, in order to test that everything is fine, what you really want to make sure is that there is no binding in here. So when I move the link like that, see, I'm able to move it, and there is no binding on any of these pins. So that means I didn't press enough. If you would press the plate too much, it would be binding, but that's not the case. And at the same time, the clip is fully inserted. So that's what you want to achieve. There you have it. That is the step-by-step how to change the front sprocket, rear sprocket, and chain of your Honda CRF300L, and also applicable for the Rally. Of course, the last thing that you have to do now is just to assemble here the chain guard and the chain guide and make the chain slack adjustment. If you don't know how to do the chain slack adjustment, I have a separate video here on the channel, but that's pretty much it. I would say you're going to need between 1 and 2 hours depending on the level of experience that you have, but it doesn't take that long to do this job. If you still have any questions after watching this video, just drop a comment down below. Do me a favor and check out our Roia Moto Tool Kits at roiamoto.com. Ride safe, and I see you on the next one. Bye bye, guys.